Okay, as you can see, we have the truck pulled out of the shop, and that is completely ready to have the slide rail system put onto it. However, we have to build it first. So I've got all the iron in the shop here. I'm using 4x7 by 3/8 angle iron for the slide rail system. We've got those pieces laid out, and then I've got it marked where I can put the cross members in for this slide rail, and then the hoist is going to sit in between this gap here. I've got some other pieces here already cut. Actually, Klein cut them for me, Klein steel, and then we've got a few set aside for the other slide rail system that I need to build for the other truck. We also have some heavy-duty flat bar here that we're going to use to weld they're going to be used for the tab material that the bodies or the tankers, what have you, are going to bolt down to. Now, I just got done making the angle iron brackets that hold the winch. This is a Pierce winch, and if I remember right, well, this is 9,000. This is a 9,000 pound hydraulic winch. I just got done making the angle iron brackets, and then this is going to weld in the back of the angle iron frame there. And then I also made a set of brackets to go up front. This is going to have the pulley bolted into it, and then the cable is going to run off that winch. It's going to come up towards the front of the truck, right at the front. This pulley is going to be in there. Cable is going to go down underneath the pulley, up over the top of the pulley, and then we can hook onto the silage body or what have you, pull it on to the truck. So once I get this all laid out, welded together, or squared up, welded together, we're going to have a angle iron up front, and then there's going to be another one turned around the other way. So I've got an 8-inch pad to put that pulley onto up front. So we're going to go ahead and get underway here. We'll get this welded, and then we'll roll it over, weld the inside of the angles, get our winch set into place, and then once we get everything all welded, then we can set it on the truck frame, put our tail hinge pieces in, weld the hoist down, and then go after a silage body, pull it on, get our tabs lined up, start making our tabs, and we can weld the tabs to the bottom of the angle iron frame so that we can bolt the body down. So we better go ahead and get things underway here. All right, we basically have this whole slide rail system done. We've got our pulley mounted up front. The hoist is going to mount in this hole here, and then I strategically placed that cross member and that one there to kind of miss the ones that are on the truck so that we're not crushing our hydraulic hoses. We've got the winch mounted in the back. I'm hoping my measurements worked out on that. That should work there without running into anything. And then these angle irons are 25 foot long. We'll end up cutting a couple of feet off of them anyways. Now I ordered rubber to go in between the slide rail and the truck frame, and that rubber of course is not here yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to mount a piece, actually we're going to mount 2x4s on there, and then once that rubber comes in we can just take the 2x4s off and put the rubber on there. So the next step is roll it over, put the 2x4s on, roll it back over, set it on the truck, weld the tail hinge in place, and then we'll string a cable on it, run down, grab the silage box, pull that on, and then we'll get our tabs welded into place here. So we've got a little bit of work to do, but we're on the downhill stretch here. All right, we have the rail system on the truck. I've got the tail hinge plates welded into place. So everything is done on the back end of the truck. I've got the winch hydraulic hoses hooked up. Now, that's not the original orbit motor that was on that winch. This one over here is, and I may or may not have tightened up the fitting going into the orbit motor too much. Got a little crack right there. So this motor here is a little smaller than the one that's on there, and I could not get any numbers off of this one here, and I don't know if that's going to spin faster or not. I'm just hoping it's got enough torque to get the box pulled on, and then I'll have to get the appropriate orbit motor to go on there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open the ball valves up on the hydraulic oil reservoir, the tank, let oil go into the system, and we're going to check for leaks. Let's hope we don't have any, because there's nothing worse than dealing with hydraulic oil when you have to work in a mess of it with leaks and everything else. So I'm hoping everything is good to go here. So we'll turn the oil on. We've got to raise the hoist a little bit. I'm gonna bolt the hoist to the sill here, because what I want to do is once I get the box on there and I get the tabs where they need to be, I want to take the box back off, then I want to pull this rail system off of there and paint it. So I don't want to weld the hoist mounts to the rail system. So we have a couple of ball valves here on the tank. We have, here is the, that one there is the suction going to the pump. And then we'll open up this one here on this side, and that is the return coming from the valve. So now we'll kind of set you guys up here. We'll turn the PTO on the truck. That'll engage the pump. And then we've got a lot of air in the system that we got to fight through, and mainly what we want to do is get that hoist just to come up a little bit. I've got a little bit of a gap here. We want to fill that gap in a little bit. Mainly we got to lift it up. We don't want this hoist resting on here all the time. We want the whole body to be resting on the truck frame. So we'll go ahead and start the truck, get that winch to run, and we'll power that hoist up. The hoist's going to have a lot of air in it. There is a bleeder on the back side of the cylinder. It's right here, but it's on the back side, and it's best if you're up a third of the way with some weight on there to let the air off the top of the piston. So I hope I don't have any oil leaks here, but it looks like I've got oil coming through right now, right on this oil filter. Uh-oh, we better address that. All right, it appears that all we had wrong there was just a loose filter. Now we'll go ahead and fire this whole girl up. Oh, we should be pumping oil, but it's got to lift the oil away, so we might have to push some oil by hand with an air gun or something to that. There we go. Oh, tripped. Well, we have liftoff. So if you can see, this winch is moving real slow. We don't really need it to move fast anyways. So we do have to get a length of cable to wind on there so that we can pull this body on. I couldn't believe we had oil that fast. I was worried that being that the tank is so much lower than the pump, traditionally your pump is on the bottom of the transmission and the oil is basically, you know, able to run right to it, and we have a leak. So it appears that we have an O-ring leaking here on the valve, on the inlet cover. There's 4 O-rings in there, and we must have a problem with one of them. So let's see if we can raise this hoist up some. There that goes. So that is in position. So it looks like we're probably going to have to pull that inlet cover apart here because it's leaking. There must be an O-ring that's goofed up in there, or maybe we're just not tight enough here. So going to have to check that. There's O-rings on the sections themselves, and we must have a problem there. Alright, so we've got the hoist bolted so that we can raise this up and put the box on there. I ended up shutting the oil off on the tanks, unhooked our gauge so that we could kind of drain part of this valve here. I tried tightening the 4 bolts that hold the whole works together, and that didn't, they were all tight, so we must have a bad O-ring in between the inlet cover and this initial work section here. So I've got to get the pressure hose off, and then we'll take these 4 bolts out that hold everything together, and then take these 2 bolts out. We can pull this inlet cover out, and hopefully we see a bunged up O-ring there. Hopefully we see something that's obvious here. Get these screw ups every once in a while. Have new set of O-rings, so we might have to tear apart one of the other valve assemblies that I shot and pull the O-rings out of one of them. But hopefully there's not a problem here. Yeah, there's our culprit right there. Gonna have to talk to the guy that put this together. Oil everywhere. Now, I've got to make sure all the other O-rings are good together. So I'm gonna grab a O-ring out of the other valve assembly that I've got. And we'll get after it here. Alright, we got that back together. We had an O-ring that jumped out of place here and got squallered. That O-ring was the top one on this one side here. So let's go ahead and we'll turn the oil tank back on and we'll power it up and see if we got rid of our leak. Hopefully we don't have any more, because I'm afraid that the amount of struggling that we did with that, it's going to require even more work next time we take it apart, if we have to take it apart. Alright, we got that problem fixed. The truck's been running the whole time while I've been cleaning up my tools, and we'll pull this outside, and once we get it outside, got a lot of air in this hoist system yet. We're going to bleed the hoist system, and then we're going to run the hoist all the way to the top. We actually could bleed the hoist right in here. I'm going to go get a Allen socket. There's a fitting, a little Allen fitting right there on each one, and we'll break them open, let the air out, and then we'll pull it outside and raise it all the way up. Make sure we don't have any clearance issues here. I'm hoping all my measurements worked out here. I've got this orbit motor kind of close to that cross member there. So let's grab a Allen socket to fit that. I think it's 1/8 inch or whatever, but that's how much our tank is actually dropped. It was up to about here before we put the hoist up that little bit. Before I started here, it was down to about there. So everything holds a lot of oil. So let's get our Allen socket and we'll bleed that. Alright, we've got our little Allen socket. We'll let this bleed out a little bit here. We'll wait till the oil comes. Might not have enough weight on it. There it goes. Alright, now we'll go over, we'll do that other side. There's not enough, really enough weight on there to really get after it here, so let's do this one. That got maybe half the air out. We'll have to do it again once we get the box on there. So let's go ahead and pull this out, and we'll raise the hoist all the way up. All right, looks like we're gonna get a little wet here, but we'll go ahead and raise it right to the top. And what we want to do is we just want to make sure nothing's going to hit. Mainly watch this. Okay, that's going to work good. Everything's just going to kind of lift up out of there. Stages just jumped because of all of the air is not out of there yet. Looks like our hoses are going to be more than long enough. I should have wrapped them with something over in there as well. Once she hits top, bang, 3,100, perfect. Alright, so that is up all the way. We let it hit the relief, and it's got the proper amount of pressure. This relief valve here, I didn't even set that. I did have to buy a new one because this valve body only had a 2500 in it. So, looks like the rain is picking up even more. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pull it in that door, and we're going to wind our cable up on it and run down and get the silage body. It looks like we're going to get wet doing that. Alright, we've got the cable hooked up onto the winch, and this motor is too damn slow. So I've got to get the appropriate motor. That goes on there. I got the length of cable that we needed. We really got too much that we're going to have wrapped on there, but I'm using the forklift. We're just kind of pulling the forklift in so that we can get this cable neatly wrapped here. It's just getting ready to make a full wrap and come back around this other way here. Our pulley is working good. I had to use a bolt that was too long because I wanted to make sure we were riding on the shank of the bolt and not threads. So I've got a bolt that's too long. I need a bolt that's about 3 inches long that is shank right down to only about 1 inch worth of threads. So we've got a little bit farther to go here. It has just started its second time around. It'll be wrapping a little faster now. But yeah. So once this gets wrapped up, we'll run down and grab the silage box. Alright, we're down here loading this box now, pulling it into place. And we had it setting on legs up on a little bit of an angle. We backed in underneath it, took the legs off, hooked the cable on, and we started dragging it on there. This has been a real slow process with this orbit motor that's on there is the wrong one. So I think we're going to be a little tight. on the cab there. Well, it's almost in place. I thought for a minute that the damn thing wasn't gonna fit over the top of the cab, but she's pretty tight there, so just got a couple inches more. I'm gonna have to put the camera down so I can pay attention to things here, and we'll get it up in the shop and get things mounted here. Well, that's gonna about do it for this video. I'm gonna call it a night here. We've got the box mounted, and then first thing in the morning we'll work on getting the tabs welded into place so we can bolt it to the rails. Then we'll have to take everything apart, paint it, and put it all back together. So that's gonna do it for this video, folks. I wanna thank you for watching, and we'll catch you at the next one. It is raining like cats and dogs here, so I was worried that we were not gonna have enough time to get this finished before we had hay on the ground, but with the way the weather's rolling in here, we're gonna be able to get this one done and get a good start on the next one. So we'll catch you at the next video, folks.